Alrighty, so you all did the hike. Congratulations, you guys did very well there. It looks like nobody actually got lost or anything, so marvelous. So I hope you were taking some decent notes, because as you know, you need to put together this 5-page logbook. Now, what I'm going to show you this evening, I'm going to show you two logbooks. The one was a logbook that was done sort of at a Pathfinder level, and the other one was done at a first class level. Now, obviously, these are on the old advancement system. Under the old advancement system, you didn't actually need any hike logs, etc., for what was Pathfinder and Adventurer. You only needed to start with hike logs from first class. So the two that I'm going to show you give you an idea of what we're looking for. But you're looking to go sort of middle of the road between the two. It doesn't have to be as detailed as a first class log, but at the same time, it needs to be a little bit more professional than the Pathfinder log that you'll see now. As I say, there were no standards for that. So let's begin here. Where are we? Let's begin with what was the Pathfinder log. Now this gives you some sort of idea. Let's do that. So this, as I say, there were no standards. There was no real need to do it actually, but this will give you some sort of idea of what we were doing. So as you can see, right from the beginning, you've got a nice cover page of some description. Ideally, you would want to actually say what the hike was, etc. You want to give an idea of who was on the hike with you. Give them some sort of jobs. It doesn't have to be heavy duty jobs or anything formal. It doesn't have to necessarily be first aider or grub master or things like that. They can just be sort of funny jobs kind of thing. Over here it was just a case of somebody was kicking a rock down the road, so they became Beckham, and somebody kept finding bones on the hike, so they became a paleontologist. All right, so give an idea of who was with you and if they had any jobs. Now, as I say, this one being the sort of lower end of the spectrum in terms of quality, this just jumped straight into the logbook. So as you can see, it gave the date, and then it goes straight into the times that something happened and what actually happened. And as we walked along, we got some samples, etc. And eventually, you know, you'll find in certain places it says things like, we found this and we're going to go home and we're going to find out what it is. But we won't go too much into detail about that. So as you can see, that was just interspersed with some interesting things. Remember, whoever's reading your logbooks, etc., they're going to want it to be a little bit interesting, because otherwise they just see 8 logbooks and they're all very dry and they get bored, etc. So try and make it a little bit interesting, a little bit funny would be kind of nice. That's why we've got all these little doodles and stuff in here as well. Makes it kind of cute. And then there was just a very basic little conclusion, and it also showed the route map. All right. As I say, that gives you an idea of a very basic hiking logbook. Now, let me just return to this. If we take a closer look at a more detailed one, the first class hiking logbook. Now, as I say, yours doesn't necessarily have to be as detailed as this. In fact, I would be very surprised if yours is quite as detailed as this. But this is more of the format that we're looking for with your logbooks. So, once again, you've got a cover page over here. What was it? Yours is a Discover a Hike. What was the date? Where were you? And if you've got a picture of your patrol, that's very nice. You want to have a table of contents. Now, this you can see all sorts of things. A history of the place. I would like to thank, all sorts of things down here then as well. Booking confirmations, invitations. Those things are not necessary for your hiking logbooks. As I say, this isn't a first class standard hike that you did, but you do want a contents page to show what you've got. All right. So once again, yeah, I said you don't need that history thing there, but have your patrol members and what their jobs were. And as I say, somebody was finding bones, so they became a paleontologist. Somebody was finding a whole bunch of bugs, so they became an entomologist. Just something a little bit different, a little bit interesting. All right, I would like to thank, blah, blah, blah. Now, as I was saying, this is the format that we really want to go through. Now, in this case, goodness gracious, what happened there?
My brother, sorry.
Is that your brother? Good. Funny, I thought it was the girls. That was a funny little scream there. Anyway, all right. You guys do not need to have these things over here, true bearing, leg distance, total distance, because you weren't measuring those. So don't worry about those columns. But it is a good idea to have it in the column format, because what you can actually do is, it doesn't necessarily need to be a map label, but you can give a label either on the map, or you can label your pictures. Now, what is very nice about logbooks like this is you have a description on the one page, ideally on the left page, and then on the right-hand page, you have corresponding photos and everything. And it's very nice to link back. You can put there label A, and then on a picture, you can put label A, and then a short description. You know, this was us being dropped off. This one is the monkey's tail that I've mentioned in my logbook over here, blah, blah, blah. So at a minimum, your two columns should be time, the time that something happened, and the comment. All right, what actually happened. Ideally, as I say, add in a label there. If you've got any photos that correspond to your comments, then you can put your photos on the page on the right hand side there. All right. And also, if you want to, you can put another column, the location or something. It's I'm not really looking for that, so don't stress too much. As I say, main thing, time and what actually happened at that time. And if you've got pictures, make sure you put those pictures in. It makes everything look a little bit nicer, a little bit more interesting. It really gives people an idea of what you actually went through on the hike. Remember, as I mentioned previously, anybody that is reading your logbook should be able to follow your hike without using your map. Okay. Now, items that you need to have apart from your comments. Okay. You need to have your route map. Make sure that you have a nice color copy of your route map. Make sure it's decently copied. I saw one or two maps that they were scanned in and it was not very easy to see. So make sure you've got a decent map there, and make sure also that you've got your that it's orientated to north, etc. All right. Back at this time for first class, you did not need to have a strip map, but obviously now you guys actually did the strip map. You do need to have the strip map in the logbook. So what I would recommend, have a page for your route map that you guys sent to me and I signed off, and then have another page, or further down on the page, whatever works for you, have your strip map. Now remember, the strip map that you actually drew on the hike is a rough copy. While it is still fresh in your minds, within the next day or two, go take some blank paper, draw your strip map, make sure that it is you've got a north arrow and everything, so that people actually know how it's oriented, etc. Make sure your strip map has some color. If you're going to use mapping symbols and things, please put a key, because you want people to actually understand what they were looking at there. If you're just using random mapping symbols, especially if they're not standard mapping symbols, people are going to get a little bit confused. So make it good, make it pretty, put it on there somewhere near the route map. Okay, once again, lots of photos, blah, blah. And then from here, it's all sort of appendices. don't be too stressed about things like booking confirmations and whatnot. I do want to see either the email or the invitation, whatever you guys sent out to your patrol. I do want to see that you've got that there, because I want to see what you actually sent out in advance. All right, and you guys wouldn't have had any costs or things like that. Just scroll, there we go. If you've got other unrelated photos, you can put those in. I'm not going to ask you to put in consent forms, but in future for first class and upwards, we want to see that everybody has filled in a consent form, and we also want to see that you filled in your permits, etc. Okay, as I say here, here's the permits, but don't worry about putting in your permits, etc., because some of you, they were signed off, others, they were approved, but they weren't signed because there were 2 permits per patrol. And then the last page, examiner's comments, I think would be a good idea. You can put that in. But another page that is not in here, but I think is a very important page, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, is a page saying something like lessons learned or what I should have done differently, etc. Remember, this whole thing is trying to teach you guys, do your planning, etc. How did it go? What would you do differently? So put in a page there and be honest with yourself and be honest with everybody. As I say, this is about learning, and put your comments there. What would you have done differently? I would have sent emails out earlier before we did the hike. I would have given the guys a better idea of the kit that they needed. I would have had a better map drawn out so that I didn't get lost. Things like that. So just critique yourself, see what you think you would have done better. All right, what I will do, I will send out an email probably tomorrow morning, and I will give you some notes, the stuff that I do want to see in your logbooks, and I will also give you an idea of what counts towards your 5 pages and what does not. Things like your cover page and your table of contents, they do not count towards your page count, all right? They are separate, they don't count. So your page count would be things like the actual log and your pictures and things like that. But I will send out an email about that. All right. Questions, queries, comments?
When exactly is this due?
Okay, this is due 14 days after the hike was done. So it is due not this Saturday, but the following Saturday.
James?
Yes, Carlos.
I wanted to ask if you could please go back up to the table of contents.
Table of contents, certainly.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. As I say, a lot of that stuff is not necessary at this level, but yeah, it gives you some sort of idea. Also, just a side note, this symbol over here with the old Springbok head in the fleur-de-lis, please don't use that. It is the old South African scouting fleur-de-lis. It is no longer used. Other questions?
How do you spell fleur-de-lis if we're gonna put the new one in?
Fleur-de-lis. All right, so it's 3 words. Have you got something to write with?
Yes.
Okay, it is F-L-E-U-R, and then a new word, D-E, and then a new word, L-I-S.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. All right, cool, guys. If there are no other questions, then I think we can call it a night then. Let me just get back to We can actually stop sharing. That's what we can do. All right. I hope you guys have a better idea now. I will send out that mail, and at the same time I will upload this video, provided it's actually worked out properly, this recording. I will send a link to that so that if you want to, you can actually skim through it again and you can see what we were talking about. All right, last chance. Any questions? Alrighty then, guys, have a lucky evening and a lucky couple of days. And as I say, now that it's sort of it's fresh in your mind, at the very least, get some decent notes down and get your strip maps, etc., sort of drawn up so that it's fresh in your minds and you know what you're doing. Because 2 weeks down the line, if you're trying to do it the night before, it gets kind of difficult. Anyway, have fun with it. Enjoy your next few days, and we will see you at some point. Cheerio, guys.
Thank you, Dan.
Cool.
Thank you,
Thank you,
James.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
Bye,
bye.
James.